there campers, I'm Josh, and today we're going to be doing an experiment on mummification. Now we're all probably familiar with the idea of mummies. They're those ancient Egyptian corpses that are wrapped up in that toilet paper type stuff and put in those big ancient Egyptian tombs. But why? You see, in ancient Egypt, the idea of mummification really revolved around the idea of preserving the body, because in the Egyptian religion, it was really important to keep the body preserved, intact, and as close to a lifelike form as possible so it could be taken over to the afterlife after it had passed away. Now really, the Egyptians would just mummify corpses by just covering them in this fancy Egyptian salt and wrapping them up so it would dry out and the moisture would be taken out of it. We kind of see a similar process in a lot of food products today, like beef jerky and raisins. These are just dried out meats and fruits, and because they've had the moisture taken out of them, they won't expire for a really long period of time. So we're going to do a similar project today. We are going to mummify a hot dog. That's right, we're going to mummify a hot dog. I know it sounds crazy, but it just might work. We're not going to use any fancy Egyptian salts, but we're going to use a few different materials. So here's what you're going to need for this project. Now the reason why we can use baking soda instead of some fancy Egyptian salt is because baking soda is a desiccant, which means it absorbs the moisture from the materials around it. This is also why you want to make sure that your baking soda is relatively fresh or new, because if it's been sitting open for a long period of time, it will have absorbed some of the moisture from the air and won't be as effective on your hot dog. Now this first step of this project is optional. We're just going to measure the length and the diameter of the hot dog. Because of the moisture drawn out of it, it will shrink. So really we just kind of want to measure the changes and what we see in the hot dog as the process goes along. Okay, so while I want you guys to have fun with this project, I want to make sure that you're staying relatively safe and healthy as well. So when you're handling the raw hot dog, I recommend either using disposable gloves or if you're just using your bare hands, make sure you sanitize those and some of your materials as well, just to avoid any food-related illnesses or contamination. So, like I said, first step is to measure the length and the diameter of our hot dog. So, we're going to measure the length just by taking our ruler, okay, and measuring the length of our hot dog. So, looks like our hot dog's coming out to about 4 3/4 inches in length. Okay, I'm going to measure the diameter just by taking our piece of string and wrapping it around the hot dog. You're going to make sure you mark where the tip of the string and the middle of the string come together. So right about here, it looks like. You're just going to measure the length of that segment of string. So it looks like we're coming out to about 2 3/4 inches. So you want to make sure you write those measurements down for your hot dog specifically. That was just a demonstration. And then we'll move on to the next step, which is putting the baking soda in the container. Okay, so for our next step, we're just going to cover the bottom of our container with about a 1-inch thick layer of baking soda. Now, it doesn't have to be 1 inch thick. It just kind of depends on the size of your container, but you want to make sure you have a nice coat of baking soda on the bottom. So, it may take a minute or two just to pour out. Just want to even it out. Get it even across the bottom. Alright, now it looks like we've got a nice even coat of baking soda across the bottom. And now it is time to put our hot dog in. So we're just going to take our hot dog and place it on top of that layer of baking soda. And now what you want to do now is just cover the hot dog with more baking soda. You want to make sure it's completely covered on top and on the side so it's completely surrounded by that desiccant so all the moisture can be removed from it. So we're just going to put another layer on top of that. Like I said, it may take a minute or two. Okay, now it looks like our hot dog is just about completely covered. So what do we do now? Well, here's what we're going to do. Alright gang, it looks like our hot dog is just about completely covered with baking soda. So now what we want to do is we want to put the lid on our tomb and just seal it up. That's right, the hard part is done. But what we want to do now is we just want to put this in a cool, dry, dark place and let it sit for a week. I know that's 7 days, it's a long time to wait, but you want to let the hot dog get the full effect of the baking soda. So you can put it in a closet, a cupboard, a cabinet, just anywhere that's cool, dark, and dry, and then check back in a few days. So let's go.
1 week later.
Okay, so it's time to open up our tomb. This is really intense. I don't know what to expect, so we're going to try. Alright. You can smell the baking soda. Just kind of brush off the baking soda to get a better idea of what it looks like. Okay, and so this is our hot dog. It looks like it has gotten a bit more brown than it was before, and the texture is a bit more tough as well, and I think it may have shrunk. But we're going to measure the length and the diameter one more time just to get a better idea if it did. So let's see, our length is coming out to about, let's see, 4.5 inches, so it did shrink by about 1/4 of an inch in the length and diameter is about 2 3/4 inches, so it didn't shrink much in the diameter, but that's okay. Now, I didn't see as much change at the end of this project as I would have liked to. By the end of your project, you're supposed to end up with something like this. The texture is supposed to be a bit more brown, it's supposed to be a bit more wrinkly as well, to really show that it's dried out and is preserved. However, there are a few different ways you can play around with this project. For example, I personally used all beef hot dogs, but you can use turkey dogs, hot dogs that use a variety of meats, and see if they have a different outcome or effect in this experiment. Or you can just let it sit for a longer period of time and see if it dries out that way. With that being said, I hope you guys had fun with this project, and I'm excited to hear how it turned out for you. See you guys later. Thank you for watching.